Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our first tips and tricks webinar for WorkflowMax by BlueRock. My name is David. I work for Valued Academy, and I'm joined by Liz from Ginger Snap Consulting, and we are ably abetted by our colleagues Natalie and Kaya from BlueRock as well. So we've got the whole team on board today just to go through these things with you and give you some insights into getting the best and the most out of WorkflowMax by BlueRock. How are you doing, Liz? Are you all right?
Yes, very well, thank you. You?
Good. Liz just ran an ultra marathon, so I'm going to announce that to the world. 57
Thank
miles in about 12 minutes, so she did really well. But yeah, you're a lunatic, Liz, but well done.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
I'm still
Um,
eating for it as well.
I'm going to say it's quite the achievement. So no, absolutely deserves a bit of a shout out. That
Thank you.
we'll give everybody a couple of minutes to jump into the session. We've got a fair number on already, but we'll give them just another minute or so to come through. As I say, this is an interesting webinar today. We're covering quite a lot of content. So I do apologize that we're going to rattle through quite a bit of this. Please take notes. At the same time, we will be fielding questions, so please do drop your questions into the Q&A. We do have a section, as you can see, at the end for questions, but that doesn't mean that we can't answer them as we go. Certainly, Natalie and Kaya are there to assist in that respect, and also if there's anything that they feel is worth raising as we go along, then we may well be able to answer some questions live as we go through the various areas that we're going to cover. Again, we're going to finish as close as possible to 10:30. What time is it now? I completely
10 o'clock.
time
10
of these.
o'clock.
11 o'clock then. Sorry, it's 10 o'clock now. So yes, in terms of that, we've got about an hour to go through this and make sure that that we've answered as much as we possibly can for you. Okay. Well, I think we've probably got everybody who is going to jump on to the session has joined at this point. So it says he as one more jumps in. So hello, if you've just joined. In which case, let's have a look at what we're going to cover. So this is just us. There you go, Liz. Sorry, I should flag you up. There you go.
That's okay.
And this is our content for today. So we're going to look at a little bit of user onboarding. There's not too much to go through there, but there's some interesting points to cover. So we'll have a little bit of a chat about that. We're going to look at general navigation and what we can show you in that aspect of the system. We're going to look at timesheet entries and just give you some heads up on just where to find the functions for timesheet entry and how they operate, etc., and the restrictions and limitations in certain areas. We'll have a look at purchase orders, always an interesting one, certainly an area in flux at the minute. This is being built out as we speak, but certainly, yes, we'll go through some of the basic tips and tricks on purchase ordering. Invoice flow, so again, how to get the most out of your invoicing process, to understand what it will do, kind of hand in hand with this idea of zero account codes. We'll probably blend those two together a little bit, I would think, Liz. But again, Liz, you're going to take us through the account codes, the custom print templates, and then the custom reports. So plenty for you to get your teeth into in those last sections. And yes, we all know about the fun parts of templates and reporting. Absolutely. So yes, well, without further ado, let's see where we can get to. So moving swiftly on. So user onboarding, what do we see? Well, let's have a little look in product as well. So if I come back to my dashboard in BlueRock, then in terms of our users, if we go into business and settings, we have our staff listed on the left-hand side under our organization settings. So as the screen catches up with us, we'll see that just on the left, we have staff. So when I click into staff, I do have my list of all of those who are in the system. If you migrated across from WorkflowMax by Xero, then all of your staff records would have been brought across as part of that process, but they're not necessarily invited in automatically. You can see here, there's a little paper plane logo, paper dart. And if that is sitting next to your staff member, it means either no invite has been sent or potentially the invite has been sent and it's pending. So literally that's the best indicator to see, has somebody accessed the system yet? If, like on mine, there is none, then they have accessed the system, and essentially they're able to get in and do what they need to do. In order to invite people into the system, simply start highlighting people. You can use the tick box at the top to highlight everybody if it helps, and then sort of remove the ones you don't need. And then at that point, you can instantly go and send those invites out. So the email that they will receive looks like this one. And literally when they click on the link there, that is when they will be able to set up their brand new password. It is not a password from the old WorkflowMax. And if they're obviously setting up new in the new system, it's just a new password. But then once they've done so, they will have access to the system. One question that's commonly asked is about two-factor authentication. This was mandatory in the old system. It is going to be mandatory in the new system, but currently it is optional. In terms of turning on two-factor authentication, and we'll have a look at a couple of the features here. For you as a user, if you look at your initials at the top right and click on the drop-down, where it's got profile settings, we click into here, and it will then present us with a series of pieces of information about your account. So you've got your own personal details, your associated email address and password, and this is where you can change those. But we can also see that this is where you can enable your two-factor authentication. So if you wanted to set that up, click into here, follow the steps through, and it will put that in place for you. So again, we're all about security. Feel free to put that in place. It is also, and this is another question that we get asked a lot. I'll mention it here because we are here at this point in time. How many lines do we see in a table in the system? So if you're looking at a client list, a jobs list, or whatever list it is that you want to look at, how many times have you seen it shows 10 items, you change it to 100 or 200, you come back and it's gone back to where it was? Well, this is where you control that. So here you can see I have 10, 25, 50, 100, or 200 as the default for me. So I can choose whatever I want between those parameters, and that will then be permanently the number that it displays to me as a default in any list. So again, do bear that in mind. We can also see that this is where I can enable email notifications. So this is where as I'm sending emails from WorkflowMax, I can actually be notified and have those sent to me as well. I can essentially be CC'd into the emails. So that is definitely worth having in terms of that. The last one I would mention, and this is one that you will also find if you've got multiple organizations and you're always being brought into one, this is where you can select that. So in my case, I should have changed this. This is a client of mine, but if I put this to value demo, then this is where I will always be brought to when I actually log into the system. So looking at other elements there, let's just have a little look. What have I covered off? So let's have a look then at roles. This is a new feature. So this did not exist in the previous system. If I come back to my previous screen, so if I come back into business and settings, then staff themselves, we've always had granular privileges for staff members. It's always been a bit of a pain to set somebody new up when you've then got to look at a previous record, look at what pattern of ticks or options they've been given, and then manually set those up in the new record. That has been resolved. We now have roles. So when I click into a member of staff, you can see that one has the administrator role. Well, what do? I've got that ability to select what role I want to give this person. So I can click on the drop down, and unlike me, who hasn't built anything else out, if you have set up your roles, then they will be available here. And all they do, you can see as soon as I select a role, it's then changing the permission levels accordingly. So they're clicking on and off as I choose what we've got. So it doesn't have to be all or nothing. You can have levels of role that will cover all sorts of aspects of what people might be doing within their position in the business. In terms of setting up a role, if we click into the roles tab just within staff, we can then see the roles that we've already got. Administrator is a default role that always exists, but we can now create a new role within here. So this is then our chance to give it a name and to then start selecting the options that we want it to include. So if I said account manager, I can then say, well, okay, which of these do I want to use? And you can see I can start with full access or no access. It's entirely up to me which is easier. So if they're going to have the majority of things, but not everything, start with full. If they're going to have some, but not a lot, start with none. It's just what's easier for you. So again, remember rules. It's just a very, very useful way of speeding up the process of inviting people into the system.
Dead handy, aren't they? You can just
They
tick
very
leave
much
them.
are. I was going to
Yeah,
say, I mean, I think this has been a long time coming, let's say,
yeah,
Liz. It's something
yeah.
that we desperately needed, and now we've got it. It is the first rung on the ladder of, how can we put it, authorization in the system as well. So this leads on to many possibilities in terms of what can be done in the future in terms of developing WorkflowMax. Another one that we'll mention while we're here is advisors. So the likes of myself and Liz. So if you are working with somebody and you want to give them access to your system, they don't have to be set up as a staff member anymore. That is now resolved. We can click into advisors, and from there, we can then click on to invite new advisor. Simply type in who it is that you're searching for. So if I search for Ginger Snap, then literally up comes Ginger Snap. If I select that and click invite, Liz gets a nice little email saying David has invited you into Value Demo as an advisor. As I said, doesn't cost you anything, doesn't take up a slot in your license. We are there just simply to assist you. So definitely, definitely useful in that respect. I mean, again, as far as users, I would say that's pretty much everything I would suggest that you think about in terms of tips and tricks. Again, there are basic functionalities there that we can talk about, but at this stage, this is very much trying to give you just the guide and the hints and the leg up in terms of your use of users within the system. So now I think we'll move along to the idea. Oh, let's come back to it. Let's move on to the idea of navigation. So let's have a look at what we can show you there. Well, let's start with the dashboard for you, the first port of call that anybody comes to. You can see by my dashboard, I've got a whole bunch of widgets on it, and I may need them, I may not. It's entirely up to me. You can always configure your dashboard. So if you click into configure, there's a whole bunch of widgets there that you can then say, yes, I need it, or no, I don't. So if I don't need a certain one, I can remove it. And if I just save that, you'll see that my dashboard will update. This is also permission controlled as well. So if you don't have permission to see things like financial privileges, you will not have a profit widget available to you on your dashboard. So don't panic. People aren't going to get to see sensitive data that they shouldn't have access to. It's just giving them that ability to control what they see and what is meaningful to them.
I think it's worth pointing out, isn't it, that the dashboard, this is going to be an evolving part of the system.
It's very, very true. You can see we've already got items here coming soon. So this is not just now, this is a continuing process that will evolve as we move forward with the product. So as new features become available, they will become available on the dashboard as well. So yeah. It's quite true. This is so true of many aspects of the system, though, isn't it, Liz? You know, we've got things that are, this is a moving target. It's not just static, not just getting to feature parity with the old system. We are looking at then moving forward into brand new territory. So it's
very true.
I talk like it's like, it is exciting stuff. I get excited by this. So I know it's only a piece of software, but to me, it's exciting. I like to see this grow. And it will help you as it grows as well. So certainly, this is what the whole feature requests thing is about. We'll talk about help options, though, a little later. So the next thing I would say is that we've got things like favorites that we can look at, favorites and filters. So when you are working within the system, you've got your big long lists of clients or jobs or purchases or whatever it might be. It helps to be able to thin those lists out. You can see in terms of the client list, we have these little yellow stars down the left-hand side. It's very simple to add yellow stars to your individual records. So if I want Bob Smith to be a favorite, I put the little star next to him. You'll see there we've got then the tab at the top that says favorites. All I do, click onto that, and I'm immediately filtering my list by these favorites. So there they are. Without further ado, it's really easy for me to find those in the system. So things like that, really very useful indeed. Filters that we have on the right, again, depending upon what we're looking at within here. If I'm looking at, let me just bring it back to all of my active clients. If I then wanted to filter this by certain criteria, I can absolutely do so. So here is where I can either say, do I want to select favorites or unfavorites? Is that even a word, unfavorite, or not favorites? However we want, unstarred, let's call it that. So I could then pick those. Or I can pick clients in a certain state, current or archived. I can pick on business structures if I'm using WorkflowMax Premium. So the idea that, am I looking for a club or a society, an estate or trust, a company? I can filter by client type. So if you set up your client type, you can filter by that and pick only the ones that you're looking for. And obviously, we've then got client manager and job manager. So again, really, really easy to say, I just want to look at David's clients, for example. So use those and get the most out of them. They're very, very useful. You do have your search functions as well. I nearly said global search there, didn't I, Liz?
Don't say that.
Don't
Don't say
say
that
global.
word.
See what it says there. We're working on this. It will be here soon. Yeah, global search. It's something that is asked for very, very regularly. It is coming. It will be there. You are not lost without it. In every screen that you're in, there is a search box. So do feel free. If you want to look at the jobs and search jobs, go into jobs. There will be a search box there for you. The same as your clients as well. So if I wanted to search for Bob, as long as I'm searching for at least 3 letters or characters, it will search the list and it will thin that out and show me all of my clients with the name of Bob, or Bob in the street name, or Bob as a contact, etc. There's all sorts of things that it will help me search for.
Going back to the filters, probably the
Yes.
most useful filter I've found is on the timesheets tab in the job.
Ooh.
Now you can just say, just show me all of Liz's timesheets rather than scrolling through a massive list, or you can say, show me Liz's timesheets for last week or for a task.
Absolutely right on that one.
Especially
Again,
on the massive job.
well, these are things that we've not had before, so they're really, really helpful.
Yeah.
So again, just to show that on screen is exactly what we're on about. Here's the jobs list. Oh, look, there's your job search. And if I go into the timesheets tab, bearing in mind that this is restricted by access, so depending upon who has a privilege to see this.
Yeah.
Absolutely, there is our list of timesheets. Green ones, by the way, denote that they've either been invoiced or submitted, so therefore can't be changed. The ones that are not in green should be able to be edited. So if I wanted to change that to 2 hours, I could certainly do so. So very, very easy to modify things on the go. There's a tip or trick for you. But absolutely, there are those filters. And exactly as you said, there's your date range, there's your staff, there's the individual task or phase that you want to look at as well. So just really useful. Things like that.
It's useful. I've used that loads.
Yeah.
Again, try and troubleshoot something. That as well.
This is just it. If you're looking for something that might, if you've got a long project that might be 2 or 3 years old, you don't want to be scrolling through tens and thousands of timesheets. You just want to be able to go straight to the bit that you're looking for. So really, really useful. So no, that's
I think the filters, in some ways, they stop you having to run a custom report, and I think that's their main plus, isn't it? You don't have to jump into a timesheets report, or you don't have to jump into a client report that shows me just David's client.
How many times have we worked with clients who have literally dozens upon dozens of custom reports because of exactly that reason? 2 years ago, I needed to see this, so I built a custom report and I've never used it since, but it's still there. So absolutely use these in preference to that where it can be done, and it just gives you a whole boatload of time. So absolutely. Let's again have another look. If you see me looking down, it's just because this is a really long list of tips and tricks. So all I'm doing, I'm referring to the list of tips and tricks, folks. So
I'll be looking to the left.
I'm going to say it's nothing more than that. So let's have a look. In terms of we've gone through default number of lines. We've gone through filters. Breadcrumbs, yes. Can you see that at the top, just underneath my green toolbar, I have a series of headers, for want of a better word, called breadcrumbs in other parlance. Right now, I'm in a job, but then there's my job manager. If I was to click into phases, let's see whether it will do it. There's one of these will do it. Might have to drill into the task. Yeah. So if I go back into my details list, I could have drilled through from there.
I think people don't see the breadcrumbs, do they? And you think, oh, you could have got to that screen really quickly by just going to the breadcrumb rather than going back to the menu, back to the...
People see them as just words. They don't think about them as clickable items. So there I am in a task right now. So if I want to go back to the job, I could either hit my back button. I could, again, navigate back to the job through the jobs menu. Not really the most efficient, or I can simply click back on my breadcrumb to take me back up the chain. Or if I want to jump straight back to the job manager, I can click back on job manager. So I've got loads of options in terms of that. I don't have to go down and click on cancel and then navigate back through or whatever it is. So
I'm an anti-back button person as well. Because,
yes, in which case an anti-backster. Fair enough.
Because you never know what's been saved, do you? If you're just reloading a previous page. So
this is the thing, isn't it? If you haven't clicked save, goodness, what are you potentially losing there? So do be
I know.
careful.
My clients say that. So you're going to tell me not to click back on it? You say, yes, please use
Yes,
the
don't
menu or
click back.
breadcrumb.
I know you're in a web browser here, but do not feel the need to click back every time.
Yeah.
Um, Other things that you can find out, and again, just while we're within job records, so various items in here. Again, tips and tricks. Things have moved. So guess what, guys? Job actions accessible from any tab. You don't have to go into
Yeah.
financials to raise an invoice anymore. Click it
Yeah.
from here. You don't have to go into financials to look at your job financial summary. It's right there. You've also got history in your job now as well. Now, it's not a lot at this stage, but this is going to expand. So do be aware that this is absolutely going to give you a lot more in the future about what is happening within your jobs. We'll also see that if I scroll down to the tasks section, we've now got manage phases right there. We've also got, where is it? Just there. I love the little red buttons. Look for these little red buttons. If you see them, they're giving you a little bit of a hint about something that is really quite useful. So here,
Stop you raising a support ticket.
yeah, very much. How do I do this? Well, it's on the
Yes.
little red button. So if I click onto that cog icon there, thank you, you can now see that I've got various options as to not only what I can display column-wise in here, really, really useful. So is it billable? Is it not billable? What's its start date and due date? I'm just hitting everything here. Amended fee. There's a one. We can talk about that. But on the right-hand side, you can also see if there's columns we don't want. So if I don't want staff allocation in there, I can get rid of it. If I don't want to see what the remaining time is or the actual time or what any of this, I can simply remove them and I don't have to see them. So at that point, there we go. And I've changed my view. Now, this is supposed to be sticky. I believe it's sticky right now. Sticky just means we don't have to reset it every time that we come in. But again, this is all brand new. It's new functions that we haven't had access to before. And again, there's always going to be expansion on this as we move forward.
Yep. The main one is some people like the to-dos to be under the task, and
I was
other people
just about to say, absolutely. If you go into a job these days, then again, by default, you'll see these tickable boxes here, the to-do items, are not normally listed directly under the task. I've turned them on in this job mostly, but again, all it would mean is that if we click into an individual task, am I right, Liz? Am I going the right way about this?
Yeah, and then you go to the to-dos tab, don't you, at the top?
And it just then from there, it's turning them on, basically. It's saying that you want to present them on that front screen. So I haven't got any to-dos, which doesn't help.
I mean, I've got lots of architects who have a very, very long to-do list to do with the ROBA stages. They don't want them on the task because it just takes up so much screen space. So other people might like it.
It needs to be a choice. Without that choice, you're kind of stuck. So just while those have added, yes, they have. Thank you very much. So that's adding your to-dos in. And again, you can see you can remove them as well from there if you want to. But then it's just giving that ability to see them within the main screen. So if I come back, I should have used my breadcrumb there.
Did you use back?
No, I used details. I clicked back on
okay,
details there. So again, we can see that we've got our details in there. And if I move back to here, we'll see whether that's come up. So let's have a look. Whoop. Not too far. So there's my 1 and 2. If I didn't want those to display, what would I do, Liz? Where would I go? Clicking back into here, or where else was it that it was controlled through?
Oh, through the little cog on the task
It
table.
was the cog at the top. So back to test.
You're just about to.
I nearly did it, didn't I? I nearly went up back, but I didn't. I was a good boy. So then from there, if we want to hide those, so again, we go to our cog just above our.
Your cog's gone.
Your cog's gone. Where am I?
Oh, it's because you
there we go. Scroll. That's the other thing. If you add a lot in, you're going to find this is the thing. So do just be aware of that. It can catch you out, just as it nearly did me there. So
just remove your to-dos.
Yes. So again, where we got that.
Right hand side.
Yeah. I'm gone blind, Liz. There we go. No.
Yeah, it's in that list. Scroll down, just under total.
To-dos. There you go. Take that out. Watch what happens. So you'll then, as we save that, you can do it. Come on, workflow. There we go. And can you see that's now back to just a clean list of tasks without the to-dos in? So if you've got boatloads of to-dos, firstly, make sure that they're being used sensibly. But at the same time, yes, you don't have to display them here. You can then use the drill down to go and see them within the tasks themselves. So again, just a good use of that.
Mhm.
Let's see what else we've got there. Let's move on. So the only other thing I wanted to do was, again, I'm going to just segue back to clients for a bit. Something else that's useful and that is different. If I just go back to view my client, we've got the option of having contact records set up within our client. So if I look at this particular client that I have here, I can see I've got no contacts set up on the right. If I want to add a contact, I can do one of two things. I can either add a brand new contact that doesn't exist in my system, or I can search for a contact. So again, you can see it gives you a vague idea. There's a list there. So if I wanted to say that, I don't know, Anna Damas, okay, fine. She's going to be a contact on here. Add to the client. And hey presto, we don't have to set up a brand new record. So we don't have to duplicate this across multiple, records for contacts. We can have that one contact associated with multiple clients. So that's really, really useful. If that person then only needs an update to a phone number or an email address, that would update it across all of those records because there's only one contact for that.
Do you want to just open that contact just for a second? Just have a quick look at the two boxes, which are the primary email contact, and can you see the included emails?
Yes, I've got to admit these ones are pretty darn useful. So again, I got it there. First name, last name. Yes, no, that's who they're connected with. Let me just find that.
Yeah, that's fine. So it will be those boxes. It's just that Anna's on two clients, isn't she? So you could say she's a primary contact.
So on the right-hand side, yes, indeed. So it's just saying there in terms of, is this the primary contact? Well, in terms of Villa, she's the only contact, so yes. All this means is that they appear at the top of the list of contacts, really. So that's the one. It just makes them easy to find. So that's the main thing there. The second one is, do we want to automatically include them in emails to that client? So when we say yes to that, if we want to email out an invoice, if we want to email out a job sheet, whatever it might be, we can literally send those out and it will already include that person's email in the email that we're sending.
They'll just get loaded into the CC field, won't they? So
yes, exactly right. So they're just automatically included. If I'm going to say we'll come back to one of those jobs, and we'll come back to Anna. Let's come back into you. We'll go into a client and then we'll go into a job and we'll send something. So if I go into the two jobs there, sorry about the time for this loading. We'll get there in a minute. We'll go to strip out and enable, and it's overdue. If it's in red, it's overdue, just like the old system. But if I then said, I want to look at our job brief, again, customizable. We'll talk about custom templates later, won't we, Liz?
It's 10:28, later soon.
It is, later is nearly here. If we click on send, then Anna, oh, it's making a liar of me. Now, is this for the other client? That's the thing.
No, it doesn't
Spark.
automatically populate.
I did not set her as a primary contact for as a including emails for Spark. So that was my problem.
Okay.
So if I had, I'm not going to go through it again, but it would have brought it up in the two section just up there. It would have had Anna's email in. So yeah. Moving swiftly on, folks. Let's think where we're up to. So in terms of purchase orders, again, let's have a little look at what we can tell you in terms of purchase orders. Apologies for the speed at which we're covering some of this. So when we click to,
are we doing timesheets first, though?
I can do timesheets first. Should we do timesheets first?
Oh, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt your flow.
No. We've been looking at jobs, so why not? Let's have a little look at timesheets and see what we can see. So in terms of a job record itself, if you have the relevant privilege, then you will see a timesheet tab within jobs. So that is kind of a very flexible area. Everybody who has been given that privilege, if they've got sufficient privilege, they will not only be able to see themselves in that drop down, they will also be able to see other staff in that drop down as well. So if I go into timesheets just here, then because I'm an administrator and I've got, fabulous cosmic power, it means that I will be able to say, well, okay, I want to not only see what timesheets have been entered, I'm going to enter a timesheet for somebody here. So I can now say, right, this is what they've done. This is how much time they've spent. And from there, is it billable or non-billable? Again, if you've got privilege to see that and affect it, and then I can save that person's timesheet. So I've got all of that power right there. So if I do need to add timesheets on somebody else's behalf, this is where we would certainly do it. You do now, though, have flexibility to do that elsewhere. So there are several places that you can enter time. If I come back to the dashboard, then entering time here is under the quick add option that we will see. So when I click on the drop down there, I've got the choice between daily and weekly timesheet. I'm going to just click into daily. So first of all, the screen I will see is just relating to me. So the pop-up window that will appear in just a moment is just for me. Notice it doesn't give me an option to select somebody else. But if I just X out of that, the screen that I'm brought to, my timesheet summary, I can indeed click on the drop down and select somebody else. So from here, I can now start to enter time for whoever else in my firm I need to. It's then just a case of updating that with their details. In a similar fashion, I can go and enter weekly timesheets. So for anybody who hasn't really explored weekly timesheets, it's a very quick way of adding your time in the system. Again, I don't want to go too much into the details of how it works, but basically I can now, using my tab key, just quickly update against whatever task and job I'm dealing with. So if I'm working on that every day this week for an hour, I've then instantly updated my details. And there is my notes section underneath. You can see which one it's relating to. It's highlighted. So then just fill my notes in and I've got everything that I need within there. If you save that, it's fine. If you navigate away from it, I believe they're going to put in a prompt to say, have you saved your changes? So if I click on the dashboard, whoa, there you go. No, cancel. I want to save that. And then I can move back to where I want to be.
Yeah.
So again, really, really useful in that sense. The other one to be aware of is the timer icon. So again, if you are either using the mobile app, it very much looks like this timer icon. If you're in the system from any screen that you're in, you've always got the green toolbar. So you've always got this option up here. So you can click on the plus, either fire up the timer or add in the time that you want, or indeed you can select a different date, pick which week, which day you want to put your time in for. You can also submit your timesheet through the widget as well, through the timer icon at the top. And likewise, if I come back to the timesheet for whoever I'm dealing with, on my timesheet summary, whether it be mine or somebody else's, I have that ability to submit that timesheet there as well. Submitting a timesheet just locks it for that period. So that individual week will then be locked for either myself or whoever I'm dealing with. There will be, as we move forward, prompts coming in saying, have you filled out enough hours in your timesheet, so that we are then guided to make sure that we've completed what we need to. And moving beyond that, there is also the potential that we will look at essentially the authorization of timesheets as well. So many features that we can look forward to in the months and years ahead in this system. Coming back to the drop-down menu under business, we do have timesheets here as well. This is really, really useful from an analysis point of view. So just a quick overview. If you're a team leader or if you're a business owner, you can look at your team and see in any given week what they have done. And there's the ubiquitous filters again. So if I want to see filters for a particular date range or a particular staff member, I can absolutely do that. And it's just really, really useful. Again, in terms of the options there, I do have the ability to print those timesheets either in detail or in summary. The export isn't there yet, but it's coming soon. So again, keep an eye out for that. But just really, really easy. If I wanted to select these staff, I can submit all of their timesheets in one go as well, which wasn't there previously. So this is now helpful. So little things like that that just save us time. And that's really what we're looking for. We'll come back now to have a quick look at purchases. And again, I do mean a quick look because I need to give this over to you, Liz. So in terms of purchases, we then have your purchase list. So under business and purchases, we've got all of your purchase orders listed out there. You can see we have the tabs for the different states, draft purchases, issued purchase orders, partially and fully received, and those that have been cancelled. There's our search. There's our filters. So again, date range, suppliers, status, very, very simple.
You always had to use a custom report for POs.
Yeah, my goodness, yes, absolutely. In terms of this, we've got the exports to zero. So when we're receipting things in, if they haven't hit zero, have a look at this tab here. The same is true for invoices as well. We'll have a look at that too. For various reasons, we might find that if something has failed, it will tell us. And under here, where it says error or comment, it would say sync failed. We can look at that, hover over it, and it will tell you what that is. That's one that a lot of people miss. So do
Mm.
be aware of that. Your failed ones will be listed there. As soon as you've gone and corrected whatever it needs, you can highlight it and you can submit it again. That's absolutely fine. Sometimes it might require us to remove it and do it again. There are
Yeah.
issues like that right now. If we've issued a purchase order, we can't really go in and edit a lot of it.
Yep.
That is improving as we go. So right now, there are currently this week, I believe, rolling out updates to this, which will allow us to edit more of the static content, as I call it, within the purchase order. So we can't still edit the actual values, the quantities, the prices, but we'll certainly be able to edit things like contents, etc. Comments that we might have, addresses, etc. Anything like that we've got, we'll be able to start editing those at this stage. So we'll
As soon
see.
as we can edit those POs, we'll have a virtual online celebration.
Absolute game changer. And I might just
Yeah.
pop a cork at that point. We'll see. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
So there is also within here the ability to raise bulk purchase orders as well. So yes, you're in your individual jobs, you can click on your job actions and raise a purchase order. You can, in your purchases manager, click into here and raise a bulk purchase order. So at this point, this then gives you the ability to say, well, who we're looking for. As I click through, I'm going to pick a supplier. So pick who I'm looking for and click next. And then it's a matter of selecting the relevant job. So right now you might have 3 jobs that you need to order something from the same supplier. It might be the same bits of material. Here, if I just choose to search for Spark, I'm going to pick up that job. And I know that I've got floors and I can add those. Says he, click in the box. And I will do exactly the same with another job, and we'll see how that then appears as a bulk purchase order. It's just a really quick, easy way of doing this so that you don't then have to go in and raise multiple purchase orders to the same supplier when it's all very easily found in the system to add to one. So once we've added that, we'll see this update with the second one. There we go. You could add anything else in, like deliveries, etc. And at this point, if I'm happy with what I've got or I want to change anything, I can do so and I can issue that straight away. So really, really easy for us to do that. The other area that I want to make a very quick mention of is invoicing. So invoice flow. There's various aspects of invoicing that we can consider here. The main thing is, what am I invoicing for? When you just come into your invoicing list, you can create an invoice here. It doesn't give you a lot of guidance. You can either create a progress or a final invoice, which is absolutely fine, just as you can within your clients and your jobs. It's only going to ask you to select which job it's for. It doesn't give you a lot of visibility as to what is to be invoiced on that job. So I would give you 2 hints first. Think about your work in progress. Either go to your dashboard and go into the work in progress dashboard there for business and work in progress. And in here, you will then see your list of those jobs that have work in progress against them. Now, this may be that you're basing your invoices on a quote, but you may have work that you've actually performed. But either way, this is what your WIP balance looks like. What time or costs or deposit invoices have you recorded against these jobs so far? So if I know that there's something I need to invoice, so if I'm looking at this and I've got a balance, I might say, right, for that time against that job, I'm now going to either tick that box and say I want to invoice it from here, at which point it will help me create a draft invoice. I can do that across as many jobs as I want, and it will create invoices for those together. If I've got several jobs for the same client, I can raise them on the same invoice. So if I've got there, let's say these two or three for Spark, I can highlight all of those and say, yes, I want to invoice for all of those at this stage. It will create one invoice covering all 3 jobs, which is really very useful. However, if I want to go into the client and have a look at what we've got there, you can see that under Spark itself, if I come back to my client overview, and notice all I had to do there was click onto the name of the client within the list, which is really quite useful. There you can see I've got my work in progress balance there. It's telling me it's across 3 jobs. If I click into this figure, if in this point it is, so that is still not clickable yet. Now, in the old system, you used to be able to click through into that. You can't in the new system just yet. However, I can still go into my jobs, or I can go into my WIP ledger list, and I can absolutely pick those up. You saw me pick them up very, very easily. I could search by client in that list, and it's really worthwhile doing. From there, though, raise your invoice as you would normally do. If there's any adjustments that you need to make, remember you can mark your invoices as fixed price. Just be careful that you have the calculations that you want first before hitting your fixed price. So if there's anything that you need to add in that you want to then see that it's multiplying things up by the right quantity and unit price or time and billable rate, that sort of thing, just make sure those have been done first before you then move your invoice to a fixed price. Liz, I'm going to hand over the reins at this point and take a breather. So
That was succinct.
I will stop my screen share there and
I was
we'll
just
give it
gonna.
over to you. But did you
I was
want me
just gonna. No, I was just gonna say something about invoicing in that.
Yes,
I'll share my screen, but
go for it.
broadly speaking, what I find is, the WIP is like a bucket of stuff that is unbilled, isn't it? We've put
Very
costs
much.
in, we've put time in, and even if you don't use your WIP ledger as an indicator, that's as you invoice, it chips away at your WIP. So I get a split of clients where some will work at month end, they'll literally work off the WIP ledger and they'll do their invoicing from there, or they use it as an indicator and then they will actually go in job by job and click the raise invoice from there. Just, I don't know if you find the same, but that tends to be what I see.
I would agree. I
Yeah.
absolutely would. I think it is just a case of how people interpret it and use it. But my point of
Mm.
view, I think you're absolutely right.
I think the main thing that people tend to fall over is if they're doing fixed price invoicing, if they haven't raised their quote in fixed price mode, they get to invoice and say, oh, why can't I see the values that are left to invoice? So remember, if you're invoicing in fixed price and you want to chip away at each kind of line item in your quote, just make sure that you raise your original quote or your amended quote in fixed price mode.
That's a really good one, actually. It's very, very worthwhile knowing. So yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for that one, Liz. Absolutely.
And then if you're billing off of time, we haven't got time to go into every single scenario, but generally speaking, for time, what people tend to do is they're either billing the exact hours or they're choosing to write off some hours, which you've got that flexibility, or they're choosing simply to put a fixed price on the hours that are on the invoice. So there's
So
lots of, I mean, that's broadly the same as old workflow, but it's, that's the point of the invoicing, that it's flexible, isn't it?
the thing is, they're still good tips to know because they're
Yeah,
not the things that are most immediately obvious. You can
yeah.
look at this and you can say, well, what should I be doing? Should it be calculated? Should it be fixed? It has
Mm,
application, so it's
mm,
worth.
mm. And probably the last thing I would say is the main thing that's tripped people up has been the tax rates, for sure. You've
Yes.
got the old 20% strike through on the tax rate on the invoices, and that's just caused such a headache. It's unavoidable because it's an old tax rate. But remember, in the invoice, you've got that button options on all invoices, update tax rates. So if you've got a list of 20 things on your invoice that have all got an old tax
Yeah.
rate on them, you can update a whole lot at once, which
It's easy to do, but you've got to know that
yeah,
it's there. That's the thing.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I would say that this is one of the benefits of the new system. It is accessing the real tax rates from zero,
Yeah,
if you're using zero, which a lot of people
yeah,
are.
yeah,
So in that sense, it is just giving you what you need at that
yeah.
stage.
Uh,
Yes,
yeah.
we'll
And
see.
and as you work through your old projects, they're all going to drop off, and you just won't have a 20% strike through anymore. It won't
That's
exist
interesting.
anymore. So yeah.
Didn't mention about account codes, but I think we've run a bit short on time, so we'll see about that. If we have any time left, we'll go over account codes, but we'll see.
I'm just gonna, so I just do a
That
very,
yours?
very, very, very quick synopsis. So
Oh, sorry, that was yours. Go ahead, Liz. Yes, absolutely.
no, it's okay. So the sending stuff to zero, you can drop it in a default bucket, which is determined by your zero integration settings. So if I go to integrations, it's obviously going to give me my default code for sales, default code for purchases, which is fine. But if you want to be more specific than that, then there we are. There's my two, income and cost of sale. The way that you can do that is either through tracking categories or by posting specific sales or purchases to specific nominal codes in zero. And the way that it does it, if you just think of it as a 3-level thing, if I go, there you go, I haven't got a breadcrumb here to go back to settings. There we are.
Oh, you see.
Yeah.
You got to
Um,
do integrations first, and then you can move back
yeah.
across. Yes.
So think of it as a little hierarchy. You've got costs and you've got tasks. Those are the two things you can put on an invoice, purchase or sales. So if I go to a cost, for example, first it's going to look for you might want to send a particular thing to a particular account code. So if I've got a widescreen monitor on my invoice, I might want to send that to a specific nominal in 0. So I could say, well, actually, if I sell one of those, it needs to go into 260. I don't want it to go into 200.
Yes.
So that's really specific. So that's what WorkflowMax looks for first. It says, right, on this item, have I got something specific? Yes, I have. Great, I'll post it there. If I haven't, then it will move up a level, and then it will go to job settings, and it will say, is there do you want to drop everything that is a consultancy project into a specific nominal code?
Yes.
And if you do, then you put it in. Yeah, I've got 260 on this one. So any job with that category where you raise a sales invoice, it will go to 260. So that's what it'll look at then. If it can't find either of those two, then it will drop it into the default, which I showed you. So you can be really specific about where you send your stuff in 0. There's no need to drop it into a big bucket and then have to recode it in 0.
It's a
Is
good
that
one.
succinct enough?
That works for me, Liz. So I hope that helped everybody there. But yes, it's always good to know what it can do for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So I noticed you've left me with custom print templates, which you know that I like.
Yes.
Yeah. So custom print templates, they're always a bit of a faff, but you can learn them quite easily. And it's a super useful skill to have because you can tinker with them and get some quite nice documents out. I've got a few clients that have a whole set of letters that they send out to clients just using the job brief because they've
Yes.
managed to customize it so that, oh, here's our introduction letter, here's our next phase letter. And it's a really neat way of pulling documents out. So if I pull out, if I just go to my job, I mean, obviously we all know what custom templates are, but if I just put up a quote on here, go to financials, put up the quote, I just want to print one. Oh, look, it's all about ultra marathons, my job.
Hey.
I've got to do something interesting, otherwise this becomes really dry. So obviously when I click here, I go to my custom template. There's my template. So I'm not saying this looks amazing. I'm not pretending this does, but if you have good word skills, you can make these look really, really neat. So you notice it, the graphic design clients, they have really nice templates because they're good at it. But for us mortals, we do what we can in Word. Yeah. So the easiest way to learn this is go to the help section, go to help center, and then in here type merge field. So merge field reference. Bookmark this page because basically everything that you can put into a template is here, every single field. So the way that these look, if I open it, get rid of that. If we just quickly open that Word doc. And there is a lot of trial and error. Once you've got it, you've got it. Otherwise, if you're David, you send it to me. And we try and fix things between ourselves, don't we?
Absolutely.
Why isn't
Doesn't
this
help, doesn't help that I work on a Mac most of the time, but there we go.
So if I just pull up my Ginger Snap one, quickly download it. There he is.
The active tick box, there's one. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Just while you're loading that up, if ever you find that you've created a custom template and it doesn't appear in the list that you expect it to, you've probably not ticked that it's active. So do remember that.
Yeah.
Ticked,
I'm over that one now. I'm over that. So here's my template. So all you've got to remember is these fields, they've in these funny curly brackets. If you right click them and click edit, that's where you change the name of the field that you want to drag in from workflow. And then what you also need to remember is there's always, we could do a whole webinar on this, but there's always a start tag and there always is an end tag. If you miss the end tag, it just won't, it won't output anything. It will just fail. So once you get the hang of that merge field document and what you can put into here, you can build some really nice templates. I think the most mileage is the one that you get out of the job brief, because if you look at the job brief, if you go scroll to the very bottom, it says, where can you insert custom fields?
Mm.
So you can see the job brief, you can pull in all your custom fields from your job. So examples are delivery notes, site contacts, perhaps a job sheet that someone wants to download before they go to site. You know, anything that's sort of very custom, it's good. If you struggle with the templates, it's because those little word fields there's something wrong with that tag. So it is a bit of trial and error. And then, you know, once you get into it, if you do Alt F9, you can pull up all of the tags. It looks a bit more impacting, but you know, that's what it's doing behind the scenes. It's not difficult. It's just once you know it, it's straightforward to do.
I think it's difficult, this, but you know, this is why I come to you for help. So.
Well, we still fuck around with templates, don't we?
Oh,
People say,
absolutely.
you know, if you build your template, you think, well, it could take me 5 minutes, or it could take me an hour and 10 minutes. I don't really know, but
This is
you know,
part of the issue with custom templates, unfortunately, is that they are fairly, how long is a piece of string? That's
they
the
are a
downside.
bit, yeah.
I've got to admit, there are certain issues that, again, might need to be escalated. Again, it's worth doing that if need be to get a resolution. I've got one currently away at the minute. It's being looked at. There's a little
Yeah.
dash that's appearing at the end of the what do you call it? Not job name.
Oh,
Task.
I've had this. Send it
Yeah.
over to me. I've had that. And the
Mm.
other thing you might find is that you just the merge field just doesn't appear. And I think there's
Yeah.
just a couple of gremlins where they don't quite appear on WorkflowMax 2 yet.
Yeah.
One of them is the account manager. That doesn't appear yet.
Yeah.
Anyway.
These things are getting worked on, though. It's absolutely true.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
Right, quickly
yeah.
onto reports before we
Mm.
So I think reports are like templates. Once you get the hang of the tables that are underneath workflow, it's trial and error to pull out what you want to pull out. So if I go and create a custom report now, I'm assuming we're talking about custom reports and not standard
Yes,
reports.
yes,
Okay,
indeed. Standard
okay,
reports are fairly obvious, but custom
okay,
ones.
okay. The only thing I would say about standard reports is going back to your filters, remember that you've got the filter on the right-hand side of the standard reports where you can nicely pull in only certain projects or only certain people, like the staff time detail. That's quite nice, isn't it? You
Sorry,
look bored.
this is me reading emails as we go. So start time. What was this about? Time, the timer.
No, but if you're running a custom report like staff time detail,
Yes.
you've got the filter on the side where you can say, I just want this project, I just
Well,
want this
this is
person, that kind of
exactly
thing.
it.
So
Absolutely right. I think when you're building your custom reports, it is a little bit more granular in that respect.
yeah,
So it depends
yeah,
what you're looking for. If you want something that is a bit more standard, start with the standard reports.
yeah. So with the reports, you're just getting familiar with these templates. This is the structure of the underlying data. So because I know I want a job financial status report, it's likely going to be in the job table. So you'll get to know which tables are which. You'll get your field list. So you'll enter, I might want to know a job number. I might want to know how much we quoted the client. I might want to know how much we've invoiced. I might want to know what's left to be invoiced, quoted to be invoiced. I might want to know the cost of the time on the job, or I just might want to know the actual cost. Where am I at the moment regarding costs? How much of those costs are based on time, actual cost of time, etc. So, you're going to get to know all of these fields, and I might want my profit, which I've got there. This is where it's tripping people up, which we covered in other webinars, but it's worth mentioning. This little date thingy is a new thing. So think of this as your first big scoop of data, and think of the filters as the drilling down and sort of picking out bits of that data. So let's say I go back to 2017. The way to use this calendar, it's a bit finicky. I always go year first, then I select the day. Then as I mouse over here, it starts to select my next one. So then I go and say, right, actually, let's just do all jobs up to 2030. And that's how you can get the calendar to behave.
Yes.
If I'm doing a job, I tend to run on job date created because I know that a user can't change that date. So that's fine. And then your filters, this is your second bit of data. So I might want to say, I only want my current ones. So I might pull out a criteria for status, which will pop up now. And I'm going to exclude everything that is cancelled and completed, for example. You can play around. These ands and ors. So with a report, just be clear in your head what you're trying to pull out at the beginning. I know that sounds obvious, but people start building a report and think, oh, it's not right. But it's because you haven't thought through what you're trying to pull out. So if you say, I want this and this, it means that both of those things need to be true before it gives you the data. Or if I said, I want everything to be, I don't want cancelled, don't want completed, or I don't want client X, when one of those things is true, it will give you the data. So it's very different about what it's selecting. I don't want grouping. You can do. You can group it by the first field. You can say who you want to have access to the report. Once the report filters are live, which you see them as coming soon, you'll be able to say, I let them change all the filters, nothing, date, and all of the filters. So if we save and generate, we know there are still issues with the reporting, which is a major focus at the moment, but they've come a long way to what they were.
Oh, yes.
We still get the spinning wheel, but we're now pulling data back a lot more quickly. So
you remember what that was like in February?
yes, I was about to retire, I think. Anything, yeah. So you can refresh, change the dates, etc. Export CSV, use your options button to go back and edit. And you can delete from here, although I think the delete works better when you're actually inside the report. But I will mention one thing that people aren't seeing at the moment when you're on the edit screen. If you want to copy it like we used to really quickly, use the copy report and then you can just change it. So I know that's one tiny report and you've all got individual needs, but play around with the tables. Once you understand the information that's coming out, you will understand which report you need to build. If it doesn't work as expected, it's probably this date range. So you've got to be careful about the date range. And then it may be your logical operators are not, they won't pull out what you want them to pull out. So yeah. Anything else you can think of with reporting without delving into a reporting webinar?
Yeah, I was going to say everything else tends to get pretty specific at this stage. I would certainly say yes. Now we're dealing with only table-based reports, which is fine. Other reports will be coming. Again, this is where we're still working towards feature parity right now, but we are getting there. It is fairly close. So keep an eye out, and as you need these things, they will become available. And obviously the weekly product updates will let you know. Liz, do you want to just have a little look at the question mark and take people through what sort of resources and the little blue ribbon on the left that they've got available?
Yeah. So I think what David just mentioned about the updates, the product updates, these are really useful. I'm seeing more and more clients watching the weekly updates because not only do you get a feel for what's coming out, you also realize that even though you think they're taking a long time to respond to your support ticket, there's loads of work going on in the background and they are pushing out the updates. So you can see that through those webinars, through these recordings, which is good. Troubleshooting guides, we've looked at quite a lot in migration. They're really handy. They cover all sorts of topics. So you've got that available to you there. Feature release schedule is as it's always been. Again, I think this is probably the most clicked page on this website. If you had Google Analytics on this, I would say. So use this to look at what's coming when. David told me to go and have a look at it today. When's this? Go and have a look at that. Okay. Honestly. Yeah, I think that's anything else to point out here. The webinars and sessions you can book from here.
Yes.
I think just to say, yeah, the help centre is a bit scant at the moment, but that's obviously going to change and more stuff is going to go in. There's also going to be a lot of video content for you as well on very small bits, video chunks that's going to help you a lot. So that's currently in creation, which is good. So we're getting there.
Definitely are. Definitely. Well, I think we've pretty much run to time. We have, again, gone through as many questions as this has been going on as we could do. I think we've got, have we got any questions left to answer there? No, I think we've been pretty much covered at this point. Um, yeah, okie dokie. Thank you so much for your time, Liz. Really
And
appreciate
you,
it.
nice to see you.
Thank you very much to Natalie and Kaya as well, working away ceaselessly in the background there. I think that you've definitely saved our bacon in terms of the Q&A section at the end, which we ran out of time for basically. But apologies for that. Hopefully your questions have been answered as we've gone through. Yes,
We'll
we
be
will
back,
be.
won't we?
We will. We'll be back again. These are regular weekly webinars. Do check out the WorkflowMax resource center to see what the topics are. Again, you'll be able to book onto the relevant webinars to help you with whatever you are looking for some assistance with. But we look forward to catching you next week for another installment of whatever we're up to at that point. And yeah, have a good one, and we will see you all soon. All right. Thanks
Thank
very much
you.
for that. Take care, folks. Bye for
Bye
now.
bye.